All right, everybody, welcome aboard here to the Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. And right now, if you are a fan of New York, things are looking pretty good right now. Could we be possibly not only looking at the two best teams in baseball, but is there a possibility that we could be looking at maybe a Subway Series down the road? Let's talk about it. All right, everybody, welcome back here to Sports Talk Nation. Michael Cohen here with you. Again, right now we have in New York. Before we get into breaking this all down, think about this. Over the last several years, for fans in the New York City tri-state area, all we have gotten used to over the last several years is losing at everything. And now, all of a sudden, this year, things are starting to turn around. You have, of course, obviously with the New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference Finals, possibly going to the Stanley Cup Finals this season. And, of course, on the baseball end of things, you have the Mets and the Yankees with two of the best records in baseball. When was the last time you could say that? It's been a long, long time. In fact, the last time both the Mets and the Yankees were both in first place, you would have to go back to 2006. Of course, that was the year that the Mets ended up losing in the NLCS to St. Louis. St. Louis ended up winning the World Series. In other words, nothing is guaranteed, as we all know. But it's been that long since both teams have had this much success at the same time. And it is amazing that both teams have practically identical records. The Mets at 35-17. Yankees are now 35-15. And here we are. And when you take a look at it from the Mets standpoint, it's, I think for a lot of people, when Max Scherzer went down with an injury, adding on top of that with Jacob deGrom's injury, the thought process was this was going to be a challenge. And it is still going to be a challenge because the Mets are right now going on the West Coast. They're opening up a 4-game series in L.A. against the Dodgers, who right now are with the second-best record in the National League as we speak. They have to play the Padres and the Angels as well in that road trip. It will not be an easy road trip at all for the Mets over the next 10 days. That's for certain. But when Scherzer went down a couple weeks ago, the thought was this could get tough, especially when the Mets were going on that road trip to San Francisco, Colorado. They did well. They split that series, went 3-3 on that road trip. Then to come home and not just sweep, but annihilate the Phillies and the Nationals this past week. 6-0 at home. Sweeping a homestand they haven't done since 2015. And what you have to like from the Mets is the fact that they get contributions from just about everybody. And it isn't just Pete Alonso, it isn't just Francisco Lindor, both of whom have had tremendous seasons this year, but it's guys like Starling Marte, who has been unconscious over the last couple of weeks. Last 7 games for Marte is hitting at .385 with a couple homers and 7 RBIs. Had a couple big home runs against the Nationals this week. Mark Canha has had a big run here of late. He is hitting at .320 over the last 7 games. And then you have some of the guys that, don't get a lot of pub at all, like guys like Thomas Nita, who went 4 for 4 the other day against Washington. Nick Plummer. Who the heck heard of Nick Plummer? I mean, you have to be, obviously, a die-hard, die-in-the-wool Met fan who follows every aspect of the minor leagues to know who Nick Plummer is. And he comes up here this past weekend against Philly, and he hits a couple of big-time home runs against them. So you get a contribution from him. And, of course, Luis Guillorme, who a year ago was a guy who would have tough at-bats but couldn't hit. Now he's getting hits. He's hitting at .500 over the last 15 games. So they're getting big contributions from everybody. This team is totally unified, which you have to like. And, again, that goes back to Buck Showalter, who has set the tone for this franchise. He has set the tone of being focused and focused on winning every play, every part of the game, and then, of course, the game itself. Now, as far as who's right now been the most valuable player on this team here through the end of May, going now into June, you can make the case it's either Francisco Lindor or Pete Alonso. I would say it's probably Alonso from the standpoint that he has gotten big hits consistently. He's hitting now at .280 on the season. 284. He is not a 280 kind of hitter. He has always been around 250, 260 in the past. Much more disciplined this year. He's going the other way a lot more. And it's now proof is in the pudding. 13 home runs, 47 RBIs. I think he's second in the league in RBIs right now. He's like fifth in home runs this year already in Major League Baseball. He has been incredible. And in fact, over the month of May, hit 385 for the month. 385 for the month of May. And then you have Lindor, who was vilified in this town a year ago. Totally different player. Looks like the guy who was hitting well at the end of September last year has had a nice run here the last 15 games. Last 15 games for Francisco Lindor. 352, 2 home runs, 21 RBIs. Those two guys are the linchpins in this order, and then everyone else is just filling it in. Jeff McNeil, everyone's contributing. Brandon Nimmo, everyone's contributing. The pitching has been adequate. It's been good enough. Carlos Carrasco, Ben Butt not break the other day against Washington. Chris Bassett has been their best pitcher right now until they get some of these guys back. Until they get a Scherzer or DeGrom or Tyler McGill back. So for the Mets, the big question that a lot of people have been asking this week, is the NL East race over? 10.5 games. You never want to say it's over, especially with regards to the Mets. Hey, look, we saw 2007. We lived through 2007 and 2008. It's never over. But right now at this pace, the Mets right now have to be feeling pretty good about themselves. 10.5 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves, their closest competition in the National League East. And kind of like 2006, the focus is now going to be starting to turn towards how do they do against some of the better teams in the National League. Can they stack up against the Dodgers and the Padres and the Milwaukee Brewers? Okay, these are teams they're going to have to get through to get to a potential World Series later this year. And I like what Buck Showalter said the other day. He says, how I feel about this team, ask me in September and October. Because that's the truth. That's the truth of all this. We'll know at that point how good this team could be. But right now, they are red hot. And then you have on the other side of town here in the Bronx with the Yankees at 35-15. 28-9 are the Yankees since that 7-6 start. Remember when they were in April, everyone thought, oh my God, the season is over. Garrett Cole looks terrible. Aaron Judge was demanding money. He got off to a slow start. Aaron Boone's going to get fired because of what happened last year. Now look at the start this year. And they have gone 28-9 since. 35-15. They just beat the Angels this afternoon. And the two guys, and while they've had a lot of contributions from a lot of different places, the two guys who have been the biggest difference for the Yankees has been Judge and Nestor Cortez. Judge has, and this is going to be interesting, folks, you could have the MVP race between both Pete Alonso and Aaron Judge in this town. The way things are going. Judge right now is hitting at 303, 19 home runs. That's the league leader. 39 RBIs. That's not it's not league leader, but he's doing well in the RBI department. Still hitting a lot. Still hitting very well. He had a 311, 378, 699 slash line in the month of May. Guy's been on a torrid stretch, and the Yankees need him to hit in a big way here if they're going to not just challenge here in the American League, which I think is pretty wide open for that matter, but to put away this division, to keep it away from the Tampa Bays and the Torontos. And then on the pitching side, and the Yankees have gotten a lot of contributions. I mean, you can go, you could talk about Garrett Cole, who's pitched better. You could talk about the fact that Jameson Taillon has turned it around. You could talk about how Jordan Montgomery, it looks like he's turned it around. Luis Severino has pitched well here in his first full season back after years of injuries. But the guy that's been most impressive is the guy that nobody thought would be in this rotation even a year ago, and that's Nestor Cortez, who just continues to dazzle. I mean, the guy's 5-1. He shut out the Angels tonight, this afternoon. He's now 5-1, as I just said, a 1.50 ERA. But that just scratches the surface of it, because he's a stocky left-handed pitcher. It looks a little bit like David Wells, kind of like a poor man's David Wells. Not as much of a blimp as he was, but short, stocky guy, doesn't overpower you with a lot of fast stuff, but just gets strikes and knows how to get guys out. And he pitches. He's very economical in his pitching. Doesn't throw more than 95 to 100 pitches, and still gets through the 7th and 8th inning. 4 of his last 5 starts have gone 7 innings or more, for that matter, for Nestor Cortez. So he has been incredibly impressive. So my question for the Yankees is, how far can this team go? What is their limit? Because I look at the American League. The American League, to me, isn't as strong right now as the National League is. At least in the National League, Mets have to go through the Dodgers. They have to go through the Padres. Who do the Yankees have to go through? It feels like people have to go through them right now. Outside of the Astros, there's not a lot there. Okay, maybe there's not to say that Tampa Bay or Toronto or maybe even the White Sox or whoever can't sneak up and knock the Yankees out of a postseason potentially, but right now it looks like all world may eventually at some point go through the Yankees. But again, like Buck Showalter said about his Mets, we have to say about the Yankees as well. We will know come the end of the season. But right now, the two best teams in this in baseball are in the tri-state area. It's the Mets. It's the Yankees. We haven't had a chance to say this in a very, very long time in this town. It's incredible to watch right now with these two teams. And will it carry into October? Will we have another Subway Series World Series? I've spoken to a couple of friends who are excited about it. I'm not exactly there yet. I can't even. I don't want to wrap my head around that. It was painful enough the first time around. But right now, they're two teams that are on pace to do some big things. So that's where we're going to leave that discussion here. Now, before we go, I just want to notify you, because you're going to see this pop up on your screen as the credits are going to roll here. Did an interview with an English darts player named Fallon Sherrick. She is competing in the Bet365 Dart Masters in New York City. Did an interview with her for Fox Sports Radio New Jersey. That link is going to be in the description, and it's going to appear on this video as well. You can go to the Fox Sports New Jersey that's going to take you to the Fox Sports New Jersey YouTube page as well, and you can watch that interview over there. So we're all over the place, as I said, here in the Sports Talk Nation. Again, like and subscribe right here at Open Mike NJ, and we'll talk to you next time.